My organization is really involved with the community consultation about climate change effects. So we work with the young people to go out into the communities to help the people to understand climate change and how they relate with their own situations in the sense of moving their own houses away from near the sea where they're affected. So this is mainly our work, how to plant mangroves with the people, to find out the right way to build seawalls, because a lot of people need to build seawalls because the water is really eating away their lands. So this is my organization. It is a small organization in the island, but I think we've been working so hard to reach out to our people in order to understand and how to adapt to this effect of climate change. At the moment, I'm working on the interviewing communities how the sea is affecting their water. My country is only 2 meters above sea level, and my people getting their water mainly from the well. So at the moment, I've been interviewing quite a lot of people, and we witness that the water is getting salty, and the people are trying hard to find ways to be able to drink their own water. I don't think we have a solution to really find ways to solve the problem with this saltiness of the water. But the people mix their water from the doti we get from the coconut tree. It's really sweet, and if we boil it with the salty water, it might give a good taste, but it's still not tasty. But it's something that they're able to drink.
Well, we're based in Sydney, Australia. We're a coalition of NGOs working in support of Pacific groups to raise awareness in our part of the world. And I have to say, having been to Kiribati 3 times in the last 12 months, that the changes are stark and noticeable. I've visited sites where villages have had to be relocated, where food pits have been inundated, where the water supply has been seriously affected. You can stand in the hospital in a high tide, and particularly when there's a storm surge, and it'll wash up in through the emergency ward. Now it's happening now.
We have our main food, which is the taro, and it's the papai, and we plant that in a fresh water. Most of the toast taro, so that crops is old, most of it's dying because they don't have much water. Now we're experiencing drought, so most of our food crops, they're very limited. Now we can't get them, or they are not healthy anymore as they used to be. How to get water mainly for the women in the village. It's really, the women's in the village really affected because they are the ones, they all stay home all the time and cooked, and so now they need to go far away further to the other people. Our plants are not producing good fruits, and most of all the sea is getting higher, so most of our people moving further in, but our island is very small, so where else they will go? If they move in the land, they either in the ocean or the lagoon. They don't want to move away, but they try to find other ways to be able to adapt to these changes.
Look, one of the things that I've noticed most in the last 12 months has been the increase in child graves. Kiribati has the highest infant mortality rates from diarrhoea of anywhere in the Pacific. It's amongst the highest rates in the world. And the rest of the world doesn't know. Just recently they're trying to wrestle with issues of typhoid. Now, both of these can be solved by, clean water, but of course the water table's been inundated. It's good for us to have plans for over 30 and 40 and 50 years. The reality we're facing at the moment is that Kiribati may well be virtually uninhabitable, within 2050, 2070 timeframes. But the second thing that I've noticed is the amazing resilience and heart of the people who live there. Just last month we had a a conference that was called by President Tong, and involved some 17 nations from right around the world: India, China, Brazil, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand. But at the very end of that conference, a 15-year-old girl came out, and she spoke after a long day of negotiations. She looked all the delegates in the eye, ambassadors and politicians from around the region and around the world, and she said to them, "I want to talk to you about the crashing waves in my backyard." She said, every year, those waves take more of my backyard. You've got to remember, this is a country where a 3-iron golf shot will take you from one beach to the other. And she said, you know, you as leaders from around the world, you have a role to play to ensure that your children and your grandchildren will have the safety and security of a homeland that they love. That's what we want. She said, and I go to bed every night listening to those waves thinking, where will I be in 10 years' time?
The threats that the difficulties thing that we have now from a small organization like me is the financial thing, because we don't have finance to go out and say to the people, build your seawall, you know, because there are some traditional ways that we protect our islands, but they are not working anymore. So those are the difficult things that we're facing, is financially, and also our old people don't really believe in climate change because they just don't know any science background of this, and it's very difficult for us to convey these old people. But it's just us to come into the community and assess, and also to find out and empower the people how to adapt with these changes and these threats that we are on about. And we say to them, these things happen, and this is the reason why. So they understand. They become to understand all the what's happening, and they, from what they experience, some of them really believe that yes, this is not happened before, and now look, my house is 10 meters away, and now I move, and when will I move in? But then they come in a sense like, oh, no wonder we keep moving. No wonder our tree is falling down. What all this about?
The irony we face with this issue, and the place like Kiribati faces, is that those who are the most to blame for the cause of the issue are the least affected in the short term. Ultimately, it's going to affect everybody. But at the moment, Kiribati and Tuvalu are right on the front line. The needs for adaptation is to ensure that people can cope in the short term. In the long term, it's a global issue. And really, I think a loss of the culture of Kiribati and its people, it's just a price too high to pay.
I think the future for us, as I see, if nothing happened here in Mexico, I think the future for my people will be disappear. Our identity, our culture, our livelihoods will be disappear. So this is the story that it's sad for me to keep saying about it, that my people will have nowhere to go.